on this tonight. This is a first blush of it. This is unveiling. But I want to hear people what they have to say. They've stayed a long time. I'm not gonna say, okay, we're not gonna do this tonight. But, so let's Bill or Kate just give us an overview, and I'd like to hear what people have to say.
So we kind of looked at what the state has done already, and so there is an adopted 6% local tax that will start July 1st, and people who are renting through these short-term, these host sites will have to register with the state. And then there is an option within that for the towns to regulate it further, and requiring renters to register through us. And then some additional, their community, community impact fees that we can charge based on certain ways in which they are, like the 2 to 3 family dwellings or professionally managed, meaning that you kind of owner unoccupied. So Bill and I kind of looked at what we thought would work well for our community with the goals in mind of trying to increase rental, long-term rental, while still allowing people to have
I think what we want to discourage is people owning a house just to rent on Airbnb. Because I think that just takes it out of the rental market or home ownership market.
We have the policy objectives there. I think the short of what we try to do is obviously we'd be the 6% tax. The way that we've kind of written the regulations, those 2-3% impact fees, we kind of wouldn't be qualifying for because of the way that we have looked at writing it, kind of disallowing those 2 uses. So the idea is that you have to be a full-time resident of Great Barrington, so that your primary residence is the home that you are renting. If that is the case and it's renting rooms within your home, you can do that for an unlimited amount of time in the year. If you are renting the entire home or auxiliary dwelling, then there's a limit to the amount of time per year that you can do that, which was, we kind of agreed upon 90 days, 3 months. Even upon doing this, after talking to quite a few people that I know that do this, and I'd obviously love as much input, so please reach out to me if people have input on this. Part of me feels as though perhaps if it's still your primary residence, if it's the entire dwelling, that it is the 90 days, but if you want it to be, the auxiliary dwelling or the second family home, that you should be allowed to do that. But I do sit on the fence about that big time.
A question on the 3% community impact fees, so that you're not proposing those?
Well, it's not that we're not proposing those, but if we were to adopt the laws or the regulations that we have proposed, neither one of those would really be allowed.
Do hotels pay that?
Yes.
The 6% they pay.
But not the additional, in effect, we'd be charging 9%. If
No,
we did
because
allow this
there's
kind
If we did, but
I understand
what
what
we're proposing would not allow it.
I don't
Okay.
think, Chris, maybe I'm sorry, but maybe you could help me out, but I don't think that additional 3% falls into hotels or bed and breakfasts because they're licensed differently and they're not listing on these host sites.
Okay.
Some do list.
Some do list.
So,
Okay.
But we also, Chris sent us some numbers, and ultimately we're not looking at a huge amount of revenue for the town of Great Barrington. I mean, without the 3%, it was maybe 20,000 a year, and with the 3%, it was, 25. So it wasn't, we were kind of outweighing the revenue to the having more rental possibility, long-term rental possibility or affordable housing. That's kind of where we looked at it. So I think the idea was that this would go then to the council to look at, unless there are changes that we want to see happen, or discussion, or input.
Does anybody from the audience want to comment on this? Yeah, please go right ahead.
You want us all together? Or just
Sure, come on. I'm Claudia Lastly, and I'm a resident of Great Barrington, and my company is Berkshire Rental Properties. And I'm also a real estate broker with Lancer Mullen, so I bring a lot of experience to this. My first question is, how did you get to 90 days?
Summer season, more or less.
Well, the summer season actually is over 100 days, depending on how the calendar falls. So if you count the days from Memorial Day to Labor Day, it's more than 100 days. We also have a very robust ski season that's 121 days from December through March. So all of these things really add up to a tremendous amount of income for the community, housekeepers, handyman, all of these young families coming to the area, experiencing an authentic experience here in the Berkshires. Then they want to buy a house. I've had many of my houses that go from rental. Those people come in and then they end up buying a house. I want to also just note that we have 5.7% sales tax from the state now. Then you're going to implement your tax, perhaps raising another percent for the community impact. All of that is fine, but you have to understand that people have their vacation dollars or their ski rental dollars, and if they can't afford to come here, they're going to come elsewhere. So that's something that you really need to consider in terms of short-term rentals. Then you also have the holidays, which is another 15 to 20 days. So we're really looking at well over 200 days that people really like to come here to the Berkshires on a regular basis. Then I have also often retired couples that come and they want to stay from May until October. So that's 5 or 6 month rental. They come here usually from Florida or from New York. They're semi-retired. They come up and they enjoy. I have a lot of those people that want to come. So where are they going to go? They don't want to buy a
5
house.
or 6 months would not be a short-term rental.
So that's my other question. What
30
is the
days or
short term
less. 30
defined?
days or less.
30 days or less?
Yeah, this is, so in the state law too, I don't think we're not imposing any additional tax beyond what the state is imposing.
So you're looking just at 5.7%.
I think it's a 6%.
It's 6%.
6% for the state tax.
It's local already accepted.
We already charge the hotels and bed and breakfast stuff.
Oh, I have documentation from the state that says 5.7%.
That's
That's the state's.
That's the
Those-
state's
those-
portion of it.
So you've already decided that it's gonna be 6% for state and local?
It was 2010 it was?
That's been in place for.
2010, the town imposed a 6% addition on
Yeah.
top of the state's.
All right. So I just want to reiterate that many of the tourists that are coming here to the area are buying houses. They're bringing their young families to the Berkshires after they have rented here for a short or a long time. There are a lot of homeowners, second homeowners that are able to keep their houses. They haven't been able to sell their house in this economy where the houses, we don't have very many houses available in Great Barrington to buy, and still we don't have a sales boom going on. So a lot of these people are able to keep their houses. When you really look at what it costs to buy a house in Great Barrington, often renovate it to make sure that there's no radon, no lead paint, the taxes, the mortgage, the insurance, you aren't able to get to an affordable number based on what you've paid and what you've put into your house and what it costs to keep it running. If your mortgage, taxes, and insurance come up to $2,500 a month, you can't rent it for $800-900 a month long term. That said, I'm always encouraging people when they come to me, when they are looking to rent their homes, I'm always looking for those long-term properties and say, you have a perfect opportunity to rent long-term, we need long-term housing. But I feel really strongly that this long-term rental option is not going to be found in the houses in Great Barrington that are already existing and standing. Like this needs to be addressed in development. And I think that there's some great opportunities that you discussed, Chris, about, you know, with the density and over by the log home site and all of that area, there's great opportunity there. So I have some clients of mine and friends that would like to speak a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Just
like,
say your name. And
sure, I'm Tracy Thornton and I own 2 houses in Great Barrington, and so I just want to share with you a little bit about my experience as a homeowner, because I think it's important to you to hear from that. So I own a house on the hill that I live in, but I also rent seasonally, so I rent it in the summer. Not for the whole summer, for maybe weeks at a time. I also rent it during the holidays, so anytime school is out, my whole family will move out of the house so that I can have renters in the home. So it could be a 3-day weekend, it could be over Christmas and New Year's, and then the summer, Columbus Day weekend, we might move out of our house, and that really provides my family additional income. Right now that income pays for my son's college education. And if we didn't have that income, then we'd be looking at, you know, student loans or something like that. Then we recently, my husband and I bought another house on the other side of town, on the east side of town. It's currently under renovation. It will become a rental property. I don't know yet what kind of rental property it will be. It could be long-term, it could be short-term. It really depends on what the market is by the time the house is renovated. And I don't actually know because I haven't put it up for rent yet. So part of my interest in investing in additional properties in Great Barrington is that I could have that flexibility to know no matter how the market goes, I'm going to have different options for having income to pay the mortgage on this house that I hope will become an investment. So I think if you're talking about really putting these kinds of restrictions on, it really limits my ability to have options for income here in Great Barrington. And we know that there are not a lot of options in the country as far as jobs where you can make an income that's, you know, decent. My husband travels to New York City for employment because there's no jobs here. And this is one potential way that my family can make additional income. And so those, you know, it would directly impact us. And I worry about the new investment of the house, like, you know, then I have less options for that house. So the other thing I really wanted to stress is by my ability to do short-term rentals, I also put a lot of money back into the local economy that I wouldn't be otherwise. I spend a lot more on my house because it has to be at a certain standard to rent. So I'll go to the cook's kitchen and buy new pots. I'll call a Berkshire Fence Company and come fix the fence because it needs to be a certain way. There's a lot of money that goes into the local economy because of the short term. Not to mention the renters that come and spend money on restaurants and shops. And I worry if we're going to limit the number of people that can come short term and visit in Great Barrington, we limit the kind of income that can come into all of our local businesses that provide income for all of the town residents. So anyway, that's just a little bit. I definitely have lots to say about it, but how about I start there?
Hi, I'm Sherry DeSalle, and I'm watching the clock, and I know it's getting late, so my comments will be very brief as a follow-up to both what Claudia and Tracy have just explained. My husband and I have 2 investment properties up on the hill. Both we bought, one was bought out of foreclosure, and the other was uninhabitable. It's on the corner of Taconic and Castle Street, and yeah.
Benton and
Benton,
and
yes.
Castle Hill.
Yes, Claudia's helped us with these properties. And so it went from being uninhabitable to looking quite lovely. We've received many comments about how nice the corner now looks as a result of our investment in that property. So to Tracy's point, you know, we've purchased 2 properties, saw an opportunity, spent a lot of money on the properties to improve and enhance them and make them, you know, viable properties for people to rent. So one is a single family that has been rented continuously for the last 6 years. The other is a 2-family. One unit is rented also continuously. There's never a lapse. And then the other is our seasonal. And to Claudia's point, we have had great success with 2 clients who come back each year. One rents for 3 months and one rents for 4 months because they love being in the Berkshires, one in the winter and one in the summer. And so I think about them as you're proposing this 90-day limitation, that they come to Great Barrington with resources that they spend on restaurants, they spend on theater, they have people that come to visit them, and which of the 2 wouldn't be able to come? If you say 90-day.
Nothing would be affected by that, I don't think.
I just- You're saying
Because those are not short-term rentals technically.
Well, no, I
guess
think
I'm-
she's saying renting continuously means that do you have somebody that's there 365 days a year, or do you mean continuously throughout the year you have short-term?
Throughout the year, so there's one that's a 3-month rental and one that's a 4-month rental.
They wouldn't be impacted at all by this. They're not short-term rentals.
It's 30 days.
30 days.
30
or
days.
less.
I guess it's difficult to know, how do you calculate, like, if one
90,
is
then
in
what
for 33 days and one's in for 3 days, and then there's another one for 2 months, and then 6 different visits for, you know, a week or 10 days. How does that all,
That's why we're unveiling this tonight, to hear
right?
the
Yeah,
problems, and we're not gonna answer those questions
Yeah, no, I feel
tonight.
like that is addressed in the state law in some way, and I don't remember how, but I believe that it is.
I'd like to
But-
just say that when you talk about the state law, you're probably discussing Boston to a great deal. We are nothing like Boston.
It doesn't, there is a state law. It's for the whole state.
Right, like
Right, but applying a limitation on the rentals it's a different story in our community than it is in Boston, so.
So the state laws that they, just to clarify, that they've written in Boston automatically apply to all of the rentals here because it is state law. The restrictions that we are proposing this evening, but hearing your impact, in your comments will potentially change, those are in addition. So things, you already starting July 1st, there will have to be taxes paid on anything rented, like all of those things are already happened in terms of what's a short term and what's 30 days or more, like those are out of the town's control.
Okay.
So it would do well to look at what the state has written.
Definitely.
But, you know, we're looking at these additional things, and I think, you know, where we sit, and we are really, I mean, for me, I really appreciate hearing this side of it. But the other side of it is me hearing about people that have the trades that you need to help you run your homes, help you rent them, help you clean them, help you fix them. They can't afford to live here. They have to go further and further and further away to provide the services needed for the people that are coming to yours. So I think what we're trying to do is find a way to strike a balance. And that's why I really appreciate hearing what you have to say, because there has to be a way to strike a balance so that we have not only the people coming, but the services to provide you to have your home, as well as the people that are coming to visit.
So that's why this is a first draft.
Right.
This is not anything we're proposing to do right this second.
Sure.
So what I'm gonna ask is that Bill and Kate come back to us, look at this, see if you propose any changes to it. We'll bring it back at the next meeting, and then we'll talk about it again.
Monday or the following Monday?
Following,
Okay.
I have just one quick follow-up,
Yeah.
and that is that, of course, we follow whatever the state does, and I have been looking at that document very carefully, this implements from July 1st. The other thing is that when you discuss professionally managed, I think you're talking about me, but what I wanna really make it clear is that I am not managing the properties, I just manage the bookings of the properties. the caretaker and the housekeepers are all managing the properties, and they're all getting paid a living wage.
That's where, what we're using that is the same way that the state puts the definitions at the beginning of their section of law. So professionally managed just is using that same definition to define.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but you're talking about these people that can't, find housing here. It may have to do with taxes also, or the prices of homes, but these people are being paid a living wage by all of the homeowners
Oh,
that
I
I'm
wasn't
working with.
accusing them of not
Right.
doing that.
But if we had more people, and I'm always looking for good people that wanna work and wanna get paid well, send them to me, because if they can't find employment, I've got a list down the block of really good houses that need housekeepers and handyman and caretakers and such, so, that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We'll
you so much
continue
for,
this.
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Okay, we're gonna move this along. Bill, Lake Mansfield, do you wanna do tonight?
We could, yes, we'd like to do this tonight, because we want to move it along.
Yes.
You've got the draft of the